Welcome everyone. I am Brother
You guys
Khan.
speak directly to the microphone, Brother Khan.
Thank you.
Really tight.
Thank you. Thank you, Kymone. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Welcome everyone to ANACOSTIA, the holy land where once walked the visionary statesman Frederick Douglass. First of all, I request you to please, if you are able to, participate in the raffle for the UNRWA. It's for the relief of the Palestinian people who are suffering the worst kind of human rights violations in Gaza, Rafah. The tickets are $10 each, and there's a beautiful kafia, the headscarf that you have a chance to win. So I encourage you, if you are able to, kindly take part in the raffle. I'm waiting for Reverend Hagler, also Media Benjamin. I'm extremely grateful for all the others who are already here. I can say there can be no doubts. The US is a white supremacist, quote, democracy, unquote. Nearly half century ago, on November 10, 1975, the UN General Assembly adopted Resolution 3379, which declared Zionism to be a form of racism and racial discrimination. But the US Congress of white supremacists of the United States of America on December 5, 2023, adopted a resolution that said anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. It was the US that got the Zionism resolution scrapped under President George H.W. Bush. Bush told the General Assembly to equate Zionism with racism is to reject Israel itself. 8 months earlier, just after midnight on January 17, 1991, the same Bush gave the order for US troops to attack Iraq. The person who led the attack was US General Norman SCHWARZKOPF. He said he belonged to the Jewish priestly class of COHENS. Now, when I point out what he said, I will be accused of anti-Semitism. In fact, the attack on Iraq was not because of Kuwait. The fact is, Israel felt threatened by Iraq and also by Libya. Zionist Israel is the baby of Western imperialism. James Baldwin said, "I wish I could say differently, but I would be lying if I did. Israel came into existence as a means of protecting Western interests at the gate of the Middle East." Baldwin said the state of Israel was not created for the salvation of the Jews. It was created for the salvation of the Western interest. This is what is becoming clear. And he writes, "I must say that it was always clear to me the Palestinians have been paying for the British colonial policy of divide and rule and for Europe's guilty Christian conscience." Baldwin also rejected the idea that Zionists were defenders of the Jewish faith. In order to be a Zionist, he notes, it is not necessary to love the Jews. He said, "I know some Zionists who are definitely anti-Semitic. Fast forward to the present day, the rise of black protest movements against police brutality in the US, where structural racism plagues nearly every facet of life, has connected black and Palestinian activists under a common cause. Amongst different races, blacks are most supportive of Palestine. According to a poll in December 2023 from the Associated Press, black adults were more likely than white and Hispanic adults to say the US is too supportive of Israel. 44% compared to 30% white and 28% Hispanics. Black American support for the Palestinian cause dates back to the civil rights movement through prominent left-wing voices, including Malcolm X, Stokely Carmichael, and Angela Davis, among others. In the 1950s, Malcolm X was among the first black activists to speak out for the Arab cause in the Arab-Israeli conflict. Malcolm X went to Gaza and visited Palestinian refugee camps months before his assassination in 1965. He questioned the historical justification for Zionist land claim, asking, only 1,000 years ago the Moors lived in Spain. Did that give the Spaniards the right to go back and take Spain from the people who were living there? He saw Zionism as a form of colonialism, displacing Palestinians from their land and denying them their right to self-determination. Malcolm X insisted we need a free Palestine. He advocated for a solution that respected the rights of both Palestinians and the Israelis. According to the Associated Press, more recent rounds of violence, including the 2021 Israel-Hamas war and now Israel's unprecedented crimes against humanity in Gaza, shown live on social media, have deepened ties between the black folks and the Palestinians. At least 100,000 people have been killed or injured. More than 1/3 of them have died. I will say yes, Hamas is terrorist, but then the Zionist Israel is at least 30 times bigger terrorist. They have killed at least 30 times bigger number of people, poor children, innocent women, sparing no one. This is genocide, and our genocide Joe cannot see that. You see, Americans like to talk about being innocent until proven guilty, but black folks are predominantly and disproportionately detained in the United States, regardless of whether anything has been proven. And that's very similar to Israel's administrative detention. Black folks who visited Gaza said, being there, one of them said, being there made me wonder if this is what it was like to live in the Jim Crow era. Palestinians in tens of thousands lost their homes in 1948 creation of Israel. This is called the Nakba, or catastrophe. The same catastrophe has happened to nearly 2,000 historically black communities in the United States of America in the name of gentrification. An outspoken defender of both Palestinian and black rights, writer and activist Angela Davis said some months ago at the Bus Boys and Poets on 14th and V Streets, Those of us who want to see democracy in the US should really understand, should really stand with our comrades and friends in Palestine to fight for justice for all. The leader of the Black Panther Party, Huey P. Newton, once wrote, "Israel was created by Western imperialism and is maintained by Western firepower," as we can see what's happening now. And Stokely Carmichael said, "I'll never say anything against Judaism. I am proud that Africa gave birth to Judaism." And anti-Zionism, to which he readily aligns himself, he said, "Zionism is about land. Israel will always belong to the Palestinians, just as America will always belong to the Native Americans." And one of Carmichael's saying is, "For racism to die, a totally new America has to be born." Thank you. I read from this paper because I will otherwise forget. Now, anyone who wants to share their thoughts, please come and do so. I will really appreciate that. Thank you, sir. The mic is open.
Hey everyone, I'm here with the DC writing campaign, and I just wanted to let everyone know that if you're a registered Democrat, we're really trying to get people to write in on the writing section of the ballot CASA instead of voting for Joe Biden or Genocide Joe. I don't know about you guys, but I am so tired of voting for the lesser evil, and I think it's time that we stand up and say no to evil, period. So let's please vote for liberation instead of occupation. Thank you.
Please come, anyone else?
I think that's your city. So it's me? Yeah.
Kymone.
Oh. Right. I appreciate that. I'm very glad that you decided to convene this, so thank you for your efforts. Thank you for everyone who have chosen to break with the administration and the popular opinions of the powers that be, and even the ghettoization, as June Jordan would say, of people who say, "Oh, this is not our issue." Because our enemies don't see any difference between the suffering of twice the national child poverty rate of starving children in this city, and you can see that by their priorities in their budget, and they don't see any difference in the starving children in Palestine. The mayor here had to be forced to face a lawsuit in order to agree to do what was legally binding of her, which was to give the surplus funds to the SNAP program to feed children in this city. It took a lawsuit for her to do that. So you don't see the callousness of starving children in the nation's capital. It's directly associated with the callousness of starving children in Gaza. This is what we are wrestling against, because they want us to see there's a difference. And to me, it's the same toilet, same shit, different toilet. And I think that we need to make these arguments, because the revolution will happen around drinks and dinner tables and mostly the back of Busboys and Poors event spaces. But some of the things I like to point out, so a lot of people are not aware of, and I think that this will arm you in these discussions and these debates that need to take place to change the paradigm in terms of the status quo's talking points. First of all, one of the issues in this country is the cost of housing, right? Everybody say the rent's too damn high. Can't get no crowd participate. The rent's too damn high. It's just me. It's only one wealthy dude in this room that I know of. The rest of y'all should be in agreement. But in Israel, they have subsidized housing. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the other main issues in this country is student loan debt. People are shackled with student loan debt. You know, thank you to Ronald Reagan, who engineered that. Because back in the day, you could actually work your way through college. Remember that? I don't know if some of y'all old enough to remember that. I used to work, wait tables, work my way through college. You ain't working your way through college now.
No.
You're gonna be straddled with debt for life. You come into college like, I want to change the world, and you leave out working for a weapons manufacturer, building bombs, killing kids in Palestine, because you got to pay off this debt, right?
Yeah.
But in Israel, they have subsidized education. Did you know that?
That far right-wing government in Israel subsidized education.
Okay. The number one cause of bankruptcy in America, healthcare. Medical debt is the number one cause of bankruptcy. It's so vicious that we think GoFundMe is a healthcare insurance. Israel has subsidized, free healthcare, the F word.
Yeah.
It's very socialist, right? Free healthcare. Now, why do I say all that? Because all of those things that you do not have and we are complaining about in this country are provided to a foreign country with your tax money.
That's right.
You are paying for shit you don't have for someone else. Now, put that in your pipe and smoke it the next time somebody want to tell you why this is not relevant. Okay? We have to have the moral authority to speak on this, to challenge the status quo, to break with the establishment. Okay? Never, ever repeat the talking points of our enemies. Oh, you one of those woke people. You one of those unconscious motherfuckers? Wake up. Right? They want to turn our words to a pejorative. We cannot repeat those things. So I want to say that it's an honor to be associated with radical people of color who see past, as I'm bigging up June Jordan, everybody needs to put that on your radar. There's a June Jordan experience who spoke eloquently about these very same issues when she talked about the ghettoization, when we compartmentalize issues. Like someone said to her that, nuclear power that's a white issue. What? Neutrons are not racially specific. If the bomb drops, it's gonna kill everybody. I've heard black people tell me to my face, "Oh, you on the climate? That's a white issue." No, bro, we breathe in the same air, and unfortunately, most of us, people of color, are breathing more polluted air. Because most of the environmental racism is concentrated in our areas. Cancer alleys, what goes on, and so forth and so on. So I want to say that these open mics and these discussions are important, but at the end of the day, I'm just going to keep rocking June Jordan, who's at 4 locations across the city, just opened last night at ANACOSTIA Art Center. Check out Theater Alliance for more information. You definitely want to check it out. The inspiration is needed for us to do the work that's important for us and rise to this occasion. But the thing is, welcome. Put a hand of applause for my band, Reverend Hagler here. And the giant walk in the room, you feel the ground vibrate. V54 fun. All right. We're gonna break down this in the apartheid Israel government with those stomping feet right there. I had the honor of having Reverend Hagler agree to speak at my launch party event on April 4th, the anniversary of MLK's assassination. And he calls me at the last minute and said, "Come on, I can't make it. I was in a motorcycle accident, but I'm still trying to kick it in." I'm like, dude, who does that? I'm in a motorcycle. Hey, that's why I'm late. I'm still trying to make it. That's this guy. Okay. Will you pop Willies, Papa? What are you doing? Trying to keep up with the young boys? Trying to keep up with the young boys. But I want to say that let's enjoy the beautiful struggle. Stevie Wonder said that the only beauty you have in life is the struggle. And whether we win or lose, that's up to the gods. So let's celebrate the struggle. I think that the only thing that we have to smile about in this genocide that we're witnessing is that it's unsustainable. It's putting this entire system on trial. It is no longer acceptable for us to make concessions for this apartheid state, this colonial state. I think that the fact that Israel and America is now isolated on an international stage, I think these are wins. And so forcing those wins are paid by the blood of so many innocent people. But it's unsustainable, and now I think finally we're going to have a coming into Jesus moment, as black folks would say, because we're at an inflection point. I think this election is that inflection point. Are we going to continue to go with the lesser of two evils? Or are we going to have the moral authority, the moral courage to rise to the occasion and have a record turnout for third-party candidates that break the monopoly of this two corporate political system? Now, don't let someone tell you, remember we said we can't repeat the talking points of our enemies. Oh, a third party can't win. Sometimes you can win a debate by making a concession. All right, I will submit, yes, under the current political system in America, a third-party candidate cannot win in a general election. But that's because of the Electoral College. You should be mad at that. Let's get rid of the Electoral College, okay? Because the fact of the matter is, a third party only has to get 5% of the national vote. What happens when you get 5%? It triggers federal funding. It gets 3 people on the debate stage. Now it's a 3-way conversation, and it's a whole different ball game. The last time it happened was some little billionaire named Ross Perot, and at the time it was 2%, and because of him, they raised it up to 5%. The national vote, it's all that's needed, is 5%. Anyone who is holding their nose and voting for Biden is an enemy to the people on this planet.
That's right.
There's no concessions, can't argue about it. And so, oh, well, he's better than Trump. Really? Trump has shown utter disregard for state laws and federal laws, hasn't he? Joe Biden has shown utter contempt for international law.
Right.
It hasn't gone better.
And who has killed more people? I think Cornel West said it best. Donald Trump will lead us to a civil war. Biden will lead us to World War III. I think we should get our own house in order, as Martin Luther King said. America is a hypocritical nation, and she must put her own affairs in order. I hope that we are courageous enough to challenge the system, do something different, because the definition of insanity is doing the same exact thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. Now, there's nothing wrong with being crazy. I'm crazy. Are you crazy enough to challenge the system, or are you insane and can pretend there's nothing wrong? Thank you. Let's rise to the occasion. Let's do something different. And for those of you who have the wherewithal, please have these conversations at your dinner table with the other side, the people on the other side of this issue, because the revolution happens across the dinner table. All right? Change in our lifetime. One love. Check out June Jordan Experience. All right? My name is Kymone Freeman. You want to support my campaign? It's Freeman for Congress. It's Freeman #4 for Congress. I'm throwing Eleanor Holmes Norton a retirement party and giving her some flowers and thanking her for her years of service, because sometimes even our elders are wrong. Even our elders are wrong. And when that happens, we must rise to the occasion and do something about it. So thank each and every one of you, and let's make sure that we do something. Peace.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
everyone doesn't know is I broke 2 ribs in that accident. And was laid up in the hospital when I called them, trying to make a jailbreak out of the hospital. And I did before the evening was over. As I want to talk about this subject and why I'm so engaged in this issue, I can't start unless I go back to my childhood in Baltimore. First riot I saw in Baltimore and was in the middle of was not when Dr. King was killed. It was a few years earlier when there was a Klan riot in Baltimore. My father was working at a steel mill, and we knew that on payday you needed to go down and get your black men. When it got off at midnight, they were burning a cross in the park and serving free beer to white folks. And this particular evening in the summer, they came streaming out of Carroll Park, chanting and screaming, "We're gonna kill a nigga tonight." That was my first riot. Watch the cops pick up the rioters, drive them up a back alley, and open the back of the lockup wagon and let them back out. That was my first experience. My second experience in Baltimore was moving into a new neighborhood. About twilight, my mother asked if we would go to the store. My brother and I get some bread, milk and eggs. And as we did, a station wagon came flying up behind us. And grown men jumped out of that station wagon in full Klan regalia. And my brother said, "Run." And we did. They caught me, beat me unconscious. My brother came back to help me. They beat him and broke our nose. Ironically, that night, as they were trying to put us in the back of the station wagon at gunpoint, ironically, the cops came on the scene and said to these men, keep in mind, we're in junior high school. We're kids. Said to these men, "What's going on?" And they said, "These niggas tried to rob us." And they put handcuffs on us and put us in the back of the police car. That's what saved us that evening. That was number 2. My experience coming out of a city such as Baltimore, which is north of Washington, D.C., is that racism and white supremacy is alive, has been alive. And it's not only a phenomenon in North America. That's what was going on in South Africa. Didn't take a genius to recognize it. it's white ideology, white supremacist ideology, and Klan ideology. You got to stand against Zionism because it's another white supremacy. It's another form of that. It seeks to dehumanize and destroy others, keep others subjugated. There's no other way to put it. Somebody wanted to argue with me of whether Zionism was the same as Klan ideology or white supremacy. All you got to do is look at Zionism and realize that it fits in with the apartheid agenda in South Africa or Jim Crow in the U.S. Don't have to go far to see the parallels and understand what we're up against. A Zionist is a dressed up Klansman. Let me repeat that. A Zionist is a dressed up Nazi, Klansman, Afrikaner. It's the same mentality and the same ideology, and there's no real way you can dress that up. No real way you can sanitize that. One thing that goes on even as we talk about the political struggle in the U.S., we don't know the history of this nation. Right now, there's all kinds of movements that are underfoot to penalize people for criticizing Israel. Make sure that people can't get jobs. People who speak out against Zionism are doxxed, which is another way of putting folks on a blacklist. Another way of threatening them. During most of slavery in the United States, did you know that on the floor of Congress, you could not mention the term slavery? You would be sanctioned and removed from Congress if you mentioned the term slavery. Again, there's your parallel that continues to come at us. Or in 1898, Wilmington, North Carolina. Y'all know what happened in 1898, Wilmington?
Yes.
Tell me loudly, somebody.
Daniels created the only successful coup in the United States of America.
The red shirts. A town council was elected. There was a fusion government of abolitionists and blacks. And before the night was over, that town council was assassinated. And they put in power basically white folks. And the red shirts stood with a list of black folks in North Carolina and loaded them on a train under the threat, if you return, you'll hang from a tree. Again, ethnic cleansing, political cleansing, all over again. What I'm getting at have to be black to be non-white. The fact is from that mentality when people look at folks who are other, they feel justified in the kinds of exploitation and dehumanization that occurs. I'm so interested in the convictions of Donald Trump. What interests me is all of the right-wing white folks who are surprised that a court system could be unjust. Ask any person of color in the United States that a court system can be unjust. Now they're surprised because it was always their system. And it still is. It's just that you got this group of white folks battling this group of white folks, and all the rest of us are stuck in the tall grass as we watch the elephants battle it out in the savannah. And we, like always, end up being crushed in that dynamic. I want to say this, that as we talk about the elections, the thing that really pisses me off is how we look to one politician or another as our savior. And when we elect somebody that's similar to our ideology, we end up relaxing and going on. When will we understand that these politicians, no matter who they are, will always serve their own interests? Our job is to get in the street and remain in the street, that your friend can be your foe and your foe can be your curse. Remain in the streets because nobody is our friend. Fact is, we gotta make the politicians do what we need for them to do, and not expect to go and have dinner with them or to be friends with them. As I'll tell any politician, friend or foe, my friends who are in office, when they're wrong, I have new theological language since I left the pulpit. When they're wrong, I'll say, fuck you. And when they're my enemy, boy, that fuck you gets really militant. Remember, we are the power. If we see ourselves as the power, we're the ones that need to be in the streets. We're the one that need to be making wrong-headed people do the right thing. We're the ones that's got to teach and preach and educate people, because people in this country, by and large, do not know. The agenda to control what goes on in the classroom is an agenda to capture the mind. And when you capture the minds of people, you capture their spirit. why we don't know history in America. That's why we don't know the history of white supremacy in America. What did DeSantis say? If we teach it, it'll make white kids feel bad. What the fuck you think black folks been feeling? And what I'm getting at is how foolish this mentality is. Because they know ever since it blew up in the 60s, around Vietnam, the civil rights movement, Black Panthers, the womanist movement, the feminist movement, folks have been struggling to try to capture the college campuses and flip that ideology that caused people to do the analysis and to rebel. And what you see right now, as kids and young folks rise up in colleges and universities to raise issues of investments, to raise issues of divestiture, to raise issues of Palestine, you see that they called out the militia, the police, to attack folks and to dismantle it. Eric Adams in New York was on the phone with these rich Zionists who said, call out the police, put it down, frighten them. And he did exactly that. Again, I get up in the morning, I watch CNBC, Andy. There's a capitalist streak in me. And before, as this was going down, they had Kraft on one morning, and he was on for a half hour. And after him was Dell. And after him were all these rich Zionists. And then he came back on and he said to the host, thank you for having the Zionists on this morning, quote unquote. This is how bold they are. And so we gotta be bolder. We gotta be stronger. We gotta be organized. We can't be quiet. We can't sit down. And we dare not disappear. God bless you.
Please come now. Anyone who wants to, yeah, please. It's like Quaker style. Please come. Thank you, Ambrose, and thank you so much.